Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and welcome to the very first After 50. I'm really excited to do this show, really to start doing this. If you are a long-time watcher of this channel, or if you are a short-time watcher of the channel, all my reviews up until now have been called what's called snap judgment reviews, or we used to call them horrible game reviews. And basically the idea behind them was I would get 5 to 10 hours to play the game and just give you an idea right up the front what the game plays like, how it feels. But certain games that I decide to play for extremely long periods of time, or that I decide to stick to, the rare few, I feel like it would be really fun to go back to these games, to look at these games again and kind of re-review them after 50 hours. So that's what this series is going to be. It is going to be my games that I've gone back, that I've played for 50 hours plus, that I'm going to yet again review here on the channel and just talk about, give you the experience, and give you the breakdown. And I think the first one we have to go with is probably one of my most important ones. It leads to a lot of the content on my channel currently, and that is 2K24, specifically my GM mode. Now, got to give you the usual disclaimer. I don't even know how to play 2K24 as far as wrestling. I don't know the buttons. I only ever spectate matches, and basically what I do is I play GM mode. That's what I like to play. I like to play GM mode. I like to mess with GM mode. I like to get in there and book my matches and then watch the dream matches that I put together. So that is specifically what we are reviewing today. I have spent 83 plus hours in 2K24's GM mode alone, so I am planning on talking about that bad boy right now as my full review goes through. Much like my original Snap Judgment review, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of talk about a quick overview of what it is. I'm not going to go into detail. Go to the Snap Judgment review for that, because this is supposed to be a more in-depth look. I'm going to give you the pros and the cons of the game that I believe in-depth right now the game has, much like the original. And then I'm going to give you a list of wants, something I want to see in the game, maybe something I want to see from sequels to the game, something along those lines. So, again, the Snap Judgment review gives a much bigger description of what it is, but for the most part, I'm just going to really clarify and say my GM mode in 2K24 is a mode in which you go in, you assume the role of a GM, a general manager, and a brand, and those give you kind of some special powers, and then you get to draft your wrestlers, and then you get to book your wrestlers against other brands on WWE programming for the best ratings, the best fans, the best Hall of Fame trophies through 25 weeks of a wrestling season. And that's it. I mean, there's more in-depth stuff. Go check out the Snap Judgment review to that. I want to get more in-depth into the play of what I like, what I don't like currently about this game. It has had a number of updates already to it. It's only been out for about a month, but there's been like 2 or 3 updates, which have all seen some positive change to GM mode. One thing I want to point out, unlike 2K's past, I think GM mode is getting the most love of any of the modes. I think Universe mode, they've added something to Universe mode each time, but they haven't really done the retool that they need, whereas GM mode has consistently got more in-depth, more interesting, and better as the years have gone on since its return in 2K22. So, right off the bat, I want to say the versatility of 2K24's GM mode is amazing. Especially after some later updates, you can add created wrestlers to your roster. You can create a brand new roster. You can change classes. You can change popularities. You can change whether they're face or heel. You can change their starting staminas to start. And then you still won't even get that specific draft pool. It'll just take a chunk of that, but you can put whatever wrestlers into the mix and take whatever wrestlers out that you want, as well as manipulate those wrestlers as you see fit. Don't think Rhea Ripley's a bruiser. Make her a giant. Whatever you want. Really, that's one of the places that GM mode shines, is its versatility to create. And again, this is a competitive mode against the computer or other players, which we'll get to. unlike Universe Mode, which is a sandbox. So I really do like that you can infinitely return to this thing, set up new parameters, and then with those new parameters kind of craft a new experience for yourself. Which kind of leads me to the in-depth management pro that I want to talk about. One thing that 2K24, I was really worried about when it was announced, is 2K23 was very in-depth for a GM mode. It definitely built on a lot of the premises that were there in 2K22, but still, there wasn't this super amount of like money management stuff that you see. You couldn't really change contract dates. You couldn't negotiate contracts. It was just more like you pay this price or you don't. And then of course like your free agent pool is just there. This time around they've definitely gotten much more simulatory with it, but what I like about it is when they were going to get simulatory, I was very afraid that they would tack on a lot of time to you playing the game, which is not great for content. But with that being said, they've managed to do it without making it feel that lasts that longer. Plus, they added the trades in, which make it very interesting. I like the way they do it. I like that it's not. I actually like that it's not anytime trades. It's just after the pay-per-views, which is a much more wrestling feel to it. I think that it just makes the game very interesting, and there's just always something being thrown at you. Plus, the money expenditures have been jacked up, which I don't love for playing, but I like for the feel of it, because it definitely makes you feel every dollar you spend, whereas 2K23 you could definitely get to a point where you could just throw cash at your problems. Which brings me to some quality of life improvements. They've just done a ton to add here. And with the CA wrestlers, like, they took out the superstar value from the previous modes, which is great. They added this thing called ring level, which allows you to actually put time into your wrestlers to give them the experience in ring to make them better. This has allowed for a perk system, which allows them to even potentially switch their classes at level 15, which has really like made that rigid class system that everybody hated and kind of changed it so that it's a little bit more versatile. I never hated the class system. I'm on record as saying that on previous videos. I know that's a hot take, but I never hated it because you just have to have ways to like clear-cut ways to book. The old GM mode from 2007 SmackDown vs. Raw drove me nuts because there was no clear-cut reason that your characters were doing better or worse other than popularity, and what raised their popularity or lowered their popularity wasn't really always clear. Whereas with this, at least there's the defining factors that you could be like, okay, giant cruiser, the class system being one of them, face heel, that sort of thing. However, this ring level really allows you to kind of get past the class system in a lot of different ways, and set up those dream matches that maybe you couldn't in years prior because the class was mismatched. And then, of course, there's just tons of little things, like being able to spectate the computer matches if you want to, being able to watch the backstage brawls, which you couldn't before, adding in a bunch of new match types with a lot of different weird effects. Personally, I absolutely love the casket match, where you get this huge fan bump, but you literally have to sacrifice a wrestler to it. I think that overall, 2K24's GM mode has just shined, and it makes me very worried because I want to spend at least 2 years in 2K24. I don't want to update to 2K25, and I'm very afraid that that GM mode is going to get even bigger bumps that'll force me to switch. So let's switch gears a little bit. You've heard me rant and rave about how much I enjoy this. Let's talk about the cons and the downsides of it. The biggest issue I have right now, the absolute biggest with a bullet, is ECW and some of the title parody that they have going on with the brands. They added the brand ECW, but they specifically left women's championships off the docket. I've talked a lot about this in multiple different videos, so I'm not going to spend as much time harping on it here, but their reasoning was ECW never had women's champions, which I'm inclined to agree. However, the black and gold brand never had rainbow belts for NXT. Also, WCW never had female tag team champions, and they've had female tag team champions since WCW got added to it. So that kind of falls short with me. I would much rather see ECW have a female championship and 2 women's championships. And don't tell me you don't have championships to spare. Go to the championships list in the setup page. There's like 70 plus different title belts. Just put one of those women's championships in ECW. Or hell, ask Paulie Heyman to design what his belt would have been if he had had women. Let's face it, Paulie E would have put women in. He would have seen he would have seen the writing on the wall. And yeah, the 90s were terrible for women wrestling, but if ECW was around today, they would have a very active and competitive female division. Let's face it. So that's just not right. Plus, they kind of tried to balance it with this whole plus 20 popularity to just the 3 belts you have instead of the plus 10 popularity to the overall 5 belts you have. But the problem with that is if you win with that, you feel like I won because I only had to really have men and men's champions on. And if you lose, you go, hey, he only had to have men and men's champions on. So it's kind of a cop-out either way. I'd rather just have equal parity across all the brands, and there's really no reason we can't do that. It's fantasy booking anyway. There's no reason to keep that like rigidness to like they didn't have ladies tag teams, whatever. Moving on, my next biggest thing is there are some AI issues when it comes to spectating. Namely, in the biggest egregious is in the tag team steel cage matches. There's no pinfall or submission, and they just won't climb out. Most of the time, like half the time, nobody will even attempt to climb out, period. You can watch it for 40 minutes, an hour, they'll just keep beating on each other. The other half the time, one person from one team will climb out, and the other people will just beat on the guy for like an hour and a half. I have not had a steel cage tag team match go through to where I've actually seen it resolve and had a good ending. I've always had to quit and simulate, and that's really frustrating. There's a couple of other issues they've definitely fixed, though. There was an overabundance of squash matches. That's kind of gone down, I've seen, since these updates, and they always do these stealth AI updates as they're doing the normal updates. Also, TLC matches, people just wouldn't climb in that either, but now they're climbing in that. So I think they'll get around to fixing this, but that needs to be a priority for them. Alright, another big miss for me on this would be the fact that there's no online functionality for my GM mode. When it comes to playing against another human player, you can't. You just can't. They have to be in the room with you, or if you're on Steam, you can use the game stream if you both own the game, which is nice, but overall, you just can't book against anybody unless they're in the room with you, which is annoying. I would like to play with other people online. I think that'd be a lot of fun, and I would like some sort of functionality to play with my friends in this game. With that in said, I also want to finally just say, and this might just be me, I don't love that the Hall of Fame trophies decide whether you're winning or losing in a year. I feel like that's kind of crap. I understand the Hall of Fame trophies, like who gets the Hall of Fame first. I'm okay with that as the overall way to win. But like for winning the year, it should be based on fans, and it's just not right now. So you can have a year where you're just absolutely getting killed, but because you check a bunch of boxes, you end up only being able to keep 3 of your wrestlers and putting yourself even worse position, even though you should have been 4th place in the ranking, you ended up being 2nd or 1st. And that's very frustrating. I don't love that. I wish that would change, or just get some sort of balancing to it. I like it. I like the fact that there's a clear-cut way to win in the repeated season, and then you can keep going if you want to. But I would much rather have like the Hall of Fame trophies be for that, and then the fan ranking be for who is actually winning on the leaderboard. I hate that it switches up the position when they do that. And then finally, my wants for this. Sure, let's get into it. I really want custom shows. I think they could add that. Might be a pipe dream, but I want that very badly. I think that would really be one of the killers as far as if they're trying to get me to buy 2K25, I think custom shows are going to potentially bring me to the game. I think that, like, I really want to see that added. I don't understand why they haven't added that. I don't understand what's so complicated about that, since they already have created wrestlers in there. That being said, I'm not a developer, so I don't know. And then, of course, I don't think this is going to happen, because in a recent patch they kind of doubled down on some HUD language. But I'd like to see women's championships in the ECW brand. I want to get rid of that 20 popularity thing and just get parity across the board so that we can all play the same game. I don't like the idea of, like, oh, this league is completely different than this. Let's get the leagues to be the same and then let our strategies differ us on the field. And that's it. That's my After 50 2K24. I'm definitely going to stick with this. I love playing this game. I'm going to continue to play this probably till 2K25 and hopefully beyond. I love booking matches. And if you are a wrestling fan, there's just no better place to go. If you're a fan of the book and you're a fan of the grind, that's where the GM mode. And just on a side note, one of the things that WWE 2K has done that's so amazing, and I don't love the fact that they're a giant company with a lot of microtransactions and that stupid My Faction crap, but at the end of the day, I don't think any wrestling game succeeds. Like, AEW Fight Forever failed. It had its own issues, but I don't think any wrestling game succeeds where WWE succeeds, because WWE 2K isn't just WWE 2K. You can go online and download any roster you want. AEW, TNA. There is this huge, just a huge wealth of creators in there that just spend all their time creating incredibly authentic, created wrestlers based on wrestlers that aren't in the WWE promotions. They do the same thing with the titles. They do the same thing with the shows. So you can go into universe mode, even get rid of all the Raws, download an AEW arena, created AEW arena, the entire AEW roster, and just make your own AEW game right inside this game. And as long as this game can do that, I don't know how any other wrestling game holds a candle to it because of that. So, that being said, that's it. This is my first After 50. I've got 2 more coming your way at the very least. Next week, I think I'm going to do Skull and Bones, since I am After 50 of that. And then probably after that, we'll go back to some older stuff. I want to go back and really talk about No Man's Sky again. I'd like to talk about even some older stuff like Streets of Rage 4 and some of my other favorite ones that I've hit 50 in. So hopefully you guys are liking this series. And yeah, as long as you guys can also reach us on Facebook at OMAGamingDH, on Twitter at OMAGaming9. You can join our Discord, links in the description below. Influence this and all of our shows from there. Comment below. Let me know if you like this series and you want to see more. And other than that, check out everything we have to offer. As long as you keep watching and listening, I'll keep making them. See you guys next time.